All right, the stream is up. So, I have to check your comments. I saw there were quite a few of them. Let me read that. Okay, so I won't do troubleshooting, at least in this stream. Let me check. Yes. All right. Thank you for the kind words, everyone. To get started with, please tell me if the music level is good and the sound level is good as well. Adam, I don't have a Sumi brush. It's not the kind of things I use actually. Yeah, Krita definitely isn't a game changer for 3D artists. It's a good tool to have for general texturing and painting especially. And all right, everyone. So hello, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining everyone in the community. And yes, okay, lots of comments. You can export animation in Krita 3. You can export them as an image sequence by going to File and Export Animation. Next up was, yes, someone was asking about the on canvas shortcuts. So yes, you can change the shortcuts for the tools like changing the size of your brush with Shift, rotating the canvas with Shift and Space. To do that, you have to go to the settings and then to the first option, configure Krita, and this one corresponds to your preferences. Music is a bit too high. Okay, let me fix that. Okay, should be good now. And then you have to go to the canvas input settings. In there, basically you will find all of the canvas related input, basically. So you can see in that case I'm not too used to them, but basically you can find pan, rotate, canvas and zoom on canvas down here. Note that at the top you have the ability to change the profile, and Krita comes with a Photoshop compatible profile that will make the behavior a bit more like Photoshop, but you will still have to read the shortcuts in there to learn them, because it's not exactly like Photoshop. So about export, because that's a very good question. I see that some of you are asking about, can you basically batch export layers? Can you export animation as video? You can't export animation as video. This would require some kind of encoder, basically, a tool like FFmpeg, which is something that this would add quite a bit of size to Krita. And as far as exporting each layer separately, you can. This is not something that is actually supported as directly exporting all of the layers, but you can, when you export, if you use the SCML export format, let me check right here, the Spriter SCML, basically Krita will export all of your layers as individual images. So I can show you that. I have a document in here normally. All that, yes. With that Reaper, which is a cutout character for a 2D game. Can you? Yes, good. So, this file is composed of many layers that were named .png because I initially used Photoshop to export it. Okay, it actually opened it 2 times. And if I go to File, Export, I'm going to create a new folder on the desktop. Save it. Okay, I exported as a Krita file. Not really useful. So I have to go to SCML, remove the file extension, save. And on desktop, in Reaper export, you will find that. You will find all of the character parts along with a HTML file that you can just delete. But basically it will use each layer's name as your file name .png. And because I have those .png tail to the layer name in here, you will have the .png twice in that case. But you can virtually export the sprites, individual sprites as layers. Okay, gotta read the backlog a little. Thank you, Wolfra. Thank you, Scott. Everyone for being in here. David and Andreas as well. So some friends in that case. Let me check. Yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Is there a way to use the horizontal vertical mirror mode inside the animation workspace? Hold on 1 second. All right, so can you use horizontal and vertical mirror mode inside the animation workspace? If it's about drawing vertically and horizontally on an animation, the answer is yes. Let me grab a brush in here. Okay, I'm going to switch to the animation workspace, create a new frame. And if it's just about, working that way with symmetry, yes, you definitely can use that. You can work with that. It's just a regular drawing tool. You can use all of the drawing tools basically with the animation toolset. And if it's about mirroring like that, you can as well. You're just mirroring the canvas. So yes, you can work with every single Krita tool within the animation editor like that. So, waiting for more questions. There's someone asking basically if I can speak French. The thing is, I used to do videos in French, but it's not the case anymore. It's English only. All right. Who let the cats out? I really can't answer that. Okay, so to fill in the blanks, what I'm going to do is to start making some game art. Major release reason. Okay. So I'm going to do some game sprite. Yes, the video will be available after the stream. About the function of adding a frame between two frames. You don't have automatic in-betweening right now. This is really traditional animation. So let me get back to that empty file. If I add so I'm going to draw a character, and if I add a keyframe a bit farther away, I'm going to draw another frame. Basically, I can, hold on, I have to remember the shortcut. Is it Alt-click? I think it's Alt-click offsets the keyframes. Is it Control-click? There's a shortcut to, yes, I think it's Control-click. So with Control-click, you can duplicate a frame. Then, basically, when you are going to create new frames, Krita is not going to create in-betweening animation for the translation for the scale and all that stuff. This is not part of Krita. Does GDquest improve for the animation part? In all honesty, I barely use GDquest, and the reason is that you really have to take the time to dive into it. So for those who don't know what GDquest is, it's only been available for stable on Windows since recent versions. It used to crash a lot, but basically it's the last option in the filter menu in Krita. And it's a library of about 400 image filters. So you can do all kinds of things. You have all sorts of basic filters, you have blurs, you have really interesting ones, by the way. A bit like the ones you can find in Photoshop for some. You can find sharpen, I think, yeah, in details. So you can find all sorts of sharpening algorithms. And there's one that's called colorize. And yeah, if the question was if it works with animation, GDquest only works, and all of the filters actually work on a single frame at a time. I guess that you can do some form of compositing with the layer filters, which is different from GDquest. It's only with the native Krita filters. But you have some Krita developers in the chat who will be able to correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. Why layer lock icon and other layer icons are not pixel perfect? This one? All of the icons are vector based, so that's probably that. On some screens it's oh, there's Ramon Miranda as well. Hi Ramon. Is there a way to preview the filters in the actual big window? What do you mean by that? Is there a way to preview? Most of the filters, like if you press Control U, not the small... Oh, in GDquest, I guess. No, I think not. GDquest uses its own window. It's not exactly part natively of Krita, I believe. So it uses its own, you know, rendering space, basically. And I don't know... yeah, you can... Oh, you can preview on canvas. Yes, you can, actually. So I told you something that's wrong. If you go down the window, you have a preview size, and you can choose on canvas, and let us check with a blur. But it's going to be a bit slow. That's the only thing. Yeah, you can see the result directly on the canvas, and it's only a preview. I wonder as well if you zoom out, if the preview is faster. Right now, you do have to check it every time. Okay, it seems to be faster if you zoom out, so... no, the rendering speed doesn't seem to change. It doesn't use the instant preview, actually. The text editor seems to be the same at Krita 2.x. Yes, so George is talking about text and color and vector, and that's actually something I wanted to bring up. Okay, so let me grab my internet browser in here. Because yes, vector did not change since Krita 2.9. And the reason is basically the developers focused on the new rendering engine and animation. They had a lot of work, a complete overhaul of Krita, a port to a new library for the user interface, Qt5. And now they are funding the new features on Kickstarter for year 2016 and 2017, and the focus is on text and vector tools. So you should have the link in the description. Yes, you have it. It's the first link in the description. that's something very, very useful for game artists, for comic book artists. With vectors, you can do a ton of stuff. So, and it's not only about vector and text, by the way. Give me a sec, I'm going to close the window. All right. So, what the Kickstarter is all about, it's about funding development for a new tool editor, but better vector tools as well, better user interface for that. Not only that, there's a long list of stretch goals with each of them basically based on how much funding they get. The developers will add even more features to that. So yeah, that's something, while you are watching the stream, after the stream, please check it out and share the Kickstarter with everyone, because the developers really deserve the funding. That's a really important thing about it. And vector tools, as soon as the vector tools are improved, I will make tutorials for them next year probably, because we'll have to wait for that. But I can tell you that they are really useful in many cases for web design, for graphic design, for game art, for any kind of layout basically based work. And text is just the same. You can end up using text a lot in all types of artistic work, even illustration. You know, if you want to basically make a text incrustation inside of a background text overlay on a wall or anything like that, simulate a tag or something along those lines. There are many use cases. And actually, there's a new grid and guides support in Krita 3. Check. Here's the Docker. And one thing that's really interesting about it is that actually this and vector snapping work really well in conjunction. So when you press Shift S in Krita 3, you can toggle different snapping options on or off. And basically the first two ones are grid and guides, and vectors will snap to those two grid points, to grid lines and guides. But also the bottom options, apart from the last three, which are relative to the document, the four options in the middle are dedicated to vector tools. So vectors actually already snap really well, and I'm going to add a vector layer in here. And in Krita, in case you don't know, vectors are really cool for one thing. You can actually use all of the tools so the geometric drawing tools. If you are on a vector layer, instead of using your brush, these will draw vector shapes. So let me just add the snap to grid. Basically in here, I can snap to the grid. I've not used vectors too much, simply because they are not outstanding right now. But with grid and guides, I'm starting to experiment for the next few videos. And basically, you can snap vectors together, which is really powerful. Another thing I really love about Krita compared to Photoshop, for instance, is that whenever you draw with vectors, vectors will use, for instance, your foreground color here to draw the stroke. And that's really cool. It's a bit, right now, the vector tool set, the vector usability may be a bit limited, but it's really powerful because basically those tool options you use on a regular raster layer. Like if I draw a square, in that case, I can choose a fill and a outline color, basically. Okay, so I'm going to just keep the outline, in that case, with my brush. If I switch to a vector layer, I have the exact same option but I'm drawing vector, so there's no overhead. You don't have to learn many new things to use vectors in Krita, which is really, really powerful in my opinion. How much Krita takes in my workflow currently, ratio to Photoshop? That's a good question, because I've told a few times on my videos that I do use Photoshop, and I don't necessarily recommend to fully switch to Krita, especially to game artists. As an illustrator, I think you can use Krita exclusively now, but as a game artist, you will still need some of Photoshop's features. It tends to change now with the version 3, and I'm sure that in the future it will be possible to work exclusively with Krita and be just about as efficient as with Photoshop. This is due to the fact that Photoshop and Krita have different design goals. So although Photoshop is really powerful for general graphic design, Krita has pretty unique things to its name, like drawing in symmetry, all of the multi-brush thing, the how can you say that? Basically the ability to apply a transform recursively to all of the layers in a group. But I do use Photoshop quite a bit. I'd say right now I'm using Photoshop about 20 to 30% of the time compared to Krita. Now, I make Krita tutorials, so because of that, I end up using Krita a lot. But I'd say Photoshop I'll use to do all the things that are a bit hard to do right now in Krita, like text, in that case, and layer styles, which are much faster in Photoshop right now. I'll use for general image retouching, like photography. Let me check. Hold on, we're going to see my pictures folder. If I go to, is it in Spring? Where did I put it? I think that's right here. So yeah, I got a new camera for the random meetings, and for instance, I will use Lightroom and Photoshop to edit the pictures, to bring them on the computer, and to, you know, just use that camera raw filter, which is really powerful in Photoshop. It allows you to do basic photo manipulation really fast. You have a lot of options available, and basically it does kind of the same thing Lightroom does. So Photoshop has features that are dedicated to photography, and it has features that are dedicated to web design, for instance, which I use a little. One example, in Photoshop you can grab any layer, and let me check the option, where is it? You can copy CSS from the layer normally. Where is that? I'm sure you can. Hold on. This is something I use rarely, but I've used it a few times. Okay, so there's that. There's also the ability to do quick export, and I hope that this will come to Krita at some point. The ability to quickly export a layer or a set of layers as images. If you click on export as in Photoshop, they have a cool little interface where you can do all sorts of you can export a selection of layers like that as individual images. Basically, you can grab groups, you can grab individual layers, you can choose to export them as JPEG, you can choose them to export them as transparent PNGs, you can pick the size. If you are doing game art on mobile, for instance, you only want to make changes to the 2x size, 0.5x size. You know, that's really cool. And Photoshop also has a JavaScript API for quick layer export, for instance. So these are a few of the things like that I like to use in Photoshop. Someone's asking about the music. If is it too distracting for all of you? Because I'm leaving it as a filler in the background just so that let me check what's playing right now, because maybe it's fast fall should be pretty light. So please tell me if the music is distracting you. I will turn it off. Okay, in your Krita 3 review you talked about the new instant preview features in version 3. How do I activate it? It's active by default. So by default it's active, and okay, hold on, I'm still with that picture. So yeah, I have a pretty resource intensive brush right there, and it's a pretty big one as well. And you can see that I am able to paint really fast, and it's calculating in the background. So that's active by default. Half volume, okay, it's still too high, too loud. Please tell me if the sound is better now. And you can toggle globally the instant preview on and off with the Shift-L key combination, or by going to the view menu and by clicking on instant preview mode. If you go to configure Krita, in case it doesn't work, you have to check in the display category that OpenGL is on, and you have the high quality filtering available. If you don't have this option, it means that, if I'm correct, that your GPU or your GPU's driver doesn't support the version of OpenGL that's required to use the instant preview in Krita. Okay, Victor has a really nice comment, which is, yeah, with Photoshop you can open a PSD file inside Bracket, which is an open source code editor made by Adobe, and you can do all sorts of manipulations. You can basically read the size and the position of the layers. You know, you can do all that directly from the code editor, which is quite nice. Someone's asking about what's the best way to reproduce a Photoshop mask layer. So William, can you just tell me if it's just simple layer masks in Krita? You can right click on a layer and add a transparency mask, and those masks you can move, you can apply to a group, you can apply anywhere basically. You can apply as many as you want on a layer. Check, it's not the right brush to do that. Okay, I didn't apply it to the right layer. So yeah, you have the ability to mask out pixels on a layer. Okay, this one was locked. And you have the ability to visualize your mask by alt-clicking on the little picture, the thumbnail, and then you can directly paint on it. So that's for transparency masks. So was that it, or do you want to me to show you, for instance, Photoshop has a very powerful option. So I'd need some kind of... Going to grab a simpler... Okay, this is a simpler case. So I'm going to show you something Photoshop does that's nice, and that you can reproduce in Krita, but it's a bit harder. I'll show you right after that. So I'm going to add a gradient, and basically what I want to do is to add, let's say, some kind of, you know, warm tone within the white area, but I don't want it to be on top of the character. But the thing is, hold on, this is a single layer. It's not a set of layers. I can't put my new layer, my gradient, in between the beaver and the background. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to quickly add that gradient, and you can see that it's overriding the layer below it. Well, when I double click on Photoshop to edit the layer style, I have two sliders. which act a bit like the alpha cutoff in Krita in the brush editor. And basically, I can do that. I can make it so my new pixels don't overlay, don't affect the white values below it. Okay, I'm gonna do that. And by alt-clicking, which I just did, I can basically soften the transition, the kind of cutoff it does. And then I'm going back to a regular black and white gradient. I can mask out the parts I don't want. So it's a really quick demo. You can see that there's a bit of aliasing, but this is something that's really useful for texturing when you want to only add moss, for instance, where you have dark values inside of your layer. So in Krita, the way to do that, it's a bit more complicated. I have to grab another document for that. Let me check. I should have a doc that can do the trick. Yes, got an idea. So in here, I have some rocks. Open them. Good. Someone's talking about FFmpeg. If I'm correct, the latest version of FFmpeg is like 30 megabytes. And yeah, that you'd have to ask the developers, but packaging FFmpeg for video export would be one thing, but I'm sure that making Krita work with it would also take quite a bit of extra work. So yeah, about doing that in Krita. I'm going to show you that. So basically I have a rock, and let's say I want to add some more moss right here. I'm going to add a new layer. So I want to add moss at the bottom, but I only wanted to apply to the lighter areas. So I'm going to paint some real quick. Okay. And I don't want it to show up in the dark area, in the crack, basically. Well, one thing I can do, I can duplicate my rock and convert it to a transparency mask. So basically what this will do is it's going to convert my picture to grayscale. I'm then going to apply the mask on my layer here. And then I'm going to my transparency mask and I'm going to modify it with levels, curves, whatever. So what I want to do is to tighten this a bit, and it's a bit slow to render in that case. Be a bit buggy. Okay, it updates properly with the curves, and how about the levels? Okay, there's something going on with the levels. Let's see if it works that way. Okay, now it works. Perfect. Let me see. Am I doing something wrong? I'm wondering. Normally I don't do this with the curves. Gonna do it, yeah, that way. I can increase the contrast really fast. So I'm compressing the value range on my transparency mask. I'm going to show you on the mask what this does. Basically, it's going to make the dark areas disappear so that they are completely black, no moss is showing on them. And I'm going to push the white parts to the point where you can see it's almost all white. Then I can control the transition a little. So right there, the crack is kind of masked out, okay? But this is more convenient to do in Photoshop as it's just a slider. Okay, let me read. You are talking a lot. That's really cool. There are a lot of you in here. It's super cool. Can Krita replicate all of the features of Photoshop? No, and Photoshop doesn't replicate all of the features in Krita. These are two different programs with two different targets. One thing I can say, which is really cool about Krita, that's the most exciting thing about it, that's one of the most exciting things about it, is Krita gets many, many more features added per release than Photoshop every single year now. The problem with big proprietary programs is that the development tends to slow down a lot when they have a big market share, which is the case for Photoshop. It's dominating the graphic design market and all. While Krita is open source and it's a passion project. So the developers are churning out a lot of work. You can see the same thing with Blender compared to other 3D programs. Blender gets really substantial improvements every year, and the other programs, mostly 3ds Max and Maya, which are the main ones, just don't grow as fast anymore. And I was a 3ds Max user. I used to work with 3ds Max initially. I was a 3D game artist, and I can tell you Blender is evolving much faster. That's really impressive. Someone asked if I was using other programs like Digicam and all that stuff. I'm actually on Windows, so some of the KDE programs are Linux only, so I'm not using them. But I would love to use Digicam actually, because I have Picasa here for image management. I made a video about it recently, and I'd rather have an open source multi-platform option, but on Windows there isn't something that's really as good as it is, as this. Right click on layer, the very last text selects the alpha, then right click, create transparent map. So Adam is asking about this option. You can select the opaque pixels on a layer to quickly convert basically a layer's pixels to a selection. You can assign a shortcut to that. So you can go to Configure Krita, Keyboard Shortcuts, and if you look for Select Opaque, you can assign, a shortcut to these, which is something I haven't done in here. I just got the new version, but this is something I do as well. I use it really often. Now, you don't have the ability to create macros right now in Krita. I know there's the option somewhere in the menus. I wonder if the developers removed it. You had the ability to do a macro, in Tools, Macro. The problem is it's basically, it's not usable right now. It will probably come back at, say, the day we have a Python API, the ability to create little scripts. You will have the ability to chain multiple actions, thus to speed up some of the process. XInView is good. But if I'm correct, I wonder if it's open source. I remember it has some kind of strange license, but I prefer Picasa for actual references, basically. So by the way, just so you know, there's a delay between me recording and you watching the stream, probably around 10 seconds. So you don't suffer from buffering in case there is a lag spike or something like that. So I'm not answering in real time exactly. Can I show some tricks to create textures, bump, normal, displacement for Blender using Krita 3? I can show you just a few things. Okay, Natchblat, I guess that someone will answer you right in the chat. So you can download it on krita.org. and you have a Windows download option. As far as creating textures is concerned, I'm not going to talk about bump and normal mapping. Well, I'm not into PBR, I haven't done 3D in a while, so I can't show you everything. But I should have some old textures on my hard drive. Let me check. In here, library, nope, it's not here. Let me see, files, probably the very old ones. I can use, not client work. Let's grab this one. Do I have? Can you open TGA in Krita? I wonder. Yes, you can. Okay, so I've got some old textures in here. Look at that lovely UV packing. Yeah, so one thing, I'll grab a tile from that old project. Do I have a screenshot in here? I'm not even sure. Okay. What tiles? Dust particles, tiled floor. Okay. Okay, so here I have a tile. Well, first thing in Krita with, I think it's, is it W or, yeah, it's W by default. I don't think I changed it. You can activate the wraparound mode. And in the wraparound mode, you can move and paint from wherever you want on the canvas. You can pick colors wherever you want as well. Why is it not working right there? I believe the developers added the ability to sample colors from everywhere, but... Yeah, okay, right now it seems, again, you can only pick colors in the middle of the screen. I thought you could from everywhere, but that's okay. So you can basically paint tiling textures that way. You don't have to do anything, it just works. So that's probably the one most interesting feature in Krita when it comes to creating textures for 3D stuff. Then the other thing you want to know about is next to the new paint layer button, you have a little drop down with the ability to create a new filter layer. Basically, these are just Krita's basic filters. But you can have them as a layer and you can do compositing in them. So you can keep painting, creating, building up your texture, and then you will have the ability to basically create some composing. Let me do a really quick example in here. I'm going to add two filters to brighten and to tweak the color of my layers below my texture. So you can do that on top of a layer stack. Let's say I want it to be... Yeah, to have some more blues in the shadows. Have that kind of higher, bigger color contrast. And more yellowish highlights. So you can see what the compositing layers did in here. Note that I checked the pass-through icon so that I can group my filters in here and place them in a group called compositing, and I could create sub-compositing groups, basically. I could say this is the group for color compositing, and this is value compositing, basically. Then I just have to check pass through. Is it working? Okay, normal. Let me check. All right, I messed up. Right, take them out. Okay, it's working again. So I can't create subgroups. I'd have to investigate that. Maybe you need to put your textures within the same group as well. Value. Trying to fix that real quick. Okay. And taking the layer N. Yeah, okay, so you can do it that way. You know, you can place your compositing layers in groups in the same level as your base texture. So yeah, that's about what I can show you with texturing. Note that you have the ability to add lighting to a normal map, basically to simulate the lighting on a normal map from within Krita. But you don't have a filter to convert a bump map to a normal map just yet. That's one of the stretch goals in this year's Kickstarter. So that's something you might want to check, but it's something the developers would like to add. They just haven't had the ability to do it. So let me read the backlog a little, because I did some kind of monologue in here. Switzerland here. Welcome, George. And seamless texture. Oh, note one thing about texturing in Krita. One thing it's really good at is creating patterns, and especially repeating patterns. So there's a tool called the multi-brush in Krita, which allows you to duplicate your brush. I don't have brushes in here for that. Hold on, I'm going to grab David Revoi's brushes, which are really good. I recommend them. His latest pack is really nice, with beautiful icons. You have pencils and simple brushes, mixing brushes. You have all you need for illustrations in there. So yeah, basically you can create repeating patterns like this one, and you can do a few things with it. You can create simple axial symmetry. You can have simple, so mirroring horizontally and vertically based on the document center. You can also do that, you know, with the axes in here that you can move around, so you don't have to use the center. And you can combine the two, by the way. I think you can use both the multi-brush and these in combination for some wonky effects, but at times it can be really useful. You can do that, and in the multi-brush tool, you can also do that snowflake thing, and if I'm correct, this does central symmetry. Then there's one thing I want to show you, because this is... Krita has a lot of brush engines. Okay, you can find them in here, and they allow you to do some really interesting things. Especially, I think, not all are useful. Like the chalk one, for instance, not useful at all. It's just some kind of demo thing. The deform one, I don't use because you have very good deformation tools in the transform tool in Krita. The dynamic one, same thing, I don't really use. However, one that's really interesting is the shape. Hold on, I lost track of it. The shape tool. I'm going to use David's shape brush. So it's a little buggy with the multi-brush, but let me find a spot. Yeah, it allows you to basically draw shapes directly, and it's something you can't do with selections, like doing your selections in symmetry, but with that shape tool, you can paint, you know, multiple shapes at the same time in radial symmetry, which is really cool. You know, you can do, look at that, you can do things like these super clean patterns in no time. crashes all the time. Yep. Okay, so do you have other questions? Let me check. Yes, you can have animated brushes. Animated brushes, just so that Krita won't be on Android tablets. I don't think it ever could. And it's a big program anyway, so you need a pretty powerful computer to run it already. Someone was talking about animated brushes. I actually forgot, I don't have any in here. But just so you know what... maybe David's brushes are animated. Let me check. Yes. So here's in David Revoi's brush pack, you have some animated brushes, the stamps. What an animated brush is just you have a few brush tips basically, and Krita will cycle through those tips based on different parameters. So you can either pick a brush tip randomly every time it draws, you know, like a grass patch in here with David's brush. You can see that I'm adding grass super fast. Maybe I should use a more appealing color in here. Some kind of light yellow green maybe. Get started. So yeah, you can create some kind of grass, and basically Krita will randomly cycle through the frames in that case. So these are basically a few brush tips in a stored in a single brush, and yeah, when I'm painting, Krita is using all of them, so you have a bit more variation inside of the grass. You can see it in here if I get back to a black color. You can see that in some variations you have really grass strands, while in some others you have thinner grass strands and you have more kind of dots that may represent, I don't know, how is it called, clovers, you know, things like these. So that's really useful for all of those replication brushes, but it can also give texture to your Krita brushes. And another way you can use them is basically you can map the different frames you have in your animated brush to your pen pressure while you are painting. The animated brushes, great for grass, great for rock texture, for any kind of grain, all sorts of cool things. And yes, Rust, like Bob Ross, our dearly beloved. If you want, I can paint some little clouds and funny little rivers and all that stuff. I'm starting to lose my voice a little. Yeah. Clouds, trees, grass, and snow. Yes. So as Kunst is saying, animated brushes, really cool. Really cool for clouds, trees, grass, and snow. And yes, I could paint Bob Ross. It would be a cool theme for a future stream. You'd have to paint every feature. You'd have to paint every picture 4 times. For animated brushes, you don't need to repaint the pictures. Basically, you create a brush tip and you make a variation of it, and that does the job. Wolfra, if you have the link, that would be super cool. So apparently someone made tutorials for Krita in the style of Bob Ross. Okay, so what do we do next? Do you have some more questions, or do we get onto game art? Ah, okay. Okay, thanks Wolfra for the point. Yeah, Krita is really on its way to becoming popular. That's one thing, because it's already really mature and now it's slowly gaining visibility, and hopefully it's really a pity that it's barely known by artists right now. It's a bit sad, but Krita is gaining attention, and I guess with each major version right now it's going to attract some more users. Pattern creation, Adam is asking. So yeah, about creating pattern, this is not something I'm good at, just so you know. But it's very simple. Most of it is about, so, working, you know, to me, the way I would go about created, please use layout block brush, it's so slow to render. Why is the magic wand tool so bad? At least me. Okay, I'm going to tackle Adam's question. So, when you want to create patterns, my recommendation is to start by, you know, filling the background, making a rough version of it. So using the multi-brush especially, depends on what you want to do. One thing I'll often do, if I have to do it for a game, is I'll start with some very simple sketch, but let us say I want to do some, I don't know, some kind of wallpaper. I'll basically paint. Hold on, I'm going to add these on a new layer. All right. I'll basically start to paint my pattern, look how it tiles, and then I'll move elements of my sketch around like this, you know, with the move tool, with the T key. To ensure, and you can do that with tile sets as well for video games. So you do your planning that way to be sure that it tiles well. Like for instance, that small element right there, it's too small, so it's not looking very good. So yeah, in general, I'll do my planning manually, unless I have a very good idea of what I want to do. But I'll try to fix the positioning of the elements and all that way. The frequency as well. And Krita is really, really useful for that. Especially if you are a pixel artist doing tile sets, you can use Krita as well. And you can use it in conjunction with ASprite, which is, you can buy the application, but it's actually open source too. It's a very good application dedicated to pixel art. One that has been in development for a long time actually. So yeah, you can see how I'm filling in my pattern and looking at it from afar to see if you can see the repetition too much. Right there, it's okay. So when I have that, I start to make my final lines. But basically, yeah, try to create it at first from afar. In Krita, you use the W key to quickly toggle between the wraparound and simple view, and use the M key to mirror your tile or your painting, anything, your image as you are painting. It's very useful to see your mistakes, and for instance, I can see some gaps I'd like to fill in there, you know. So that's how I would get started. Then next step, in general, I'll grab my sketch, I'll reinforce it, and I will start, let's say this is some kind of rocky texture. I will start to paint the gravels one by one. Yep, There are some more questions. So Sengoku versus Superman. None of them wins. It's actually Batman, because the best superpower in the world is money. You should all know that. Hold on. Full options. That sounds. Options. Okay. Like gradients, you can show HD index painting. Yes, there is a gradient map effect. Who was talking about what? I think I missed the message. I didn't see that was there about halftones, like the soft slow transition halftones can do. Yes, Krita actually has a dedicated brush engine for halftones for mangas and all that stuff. So let me check. I'm going to take a more appealing document. Yeah, I don't have that right there. Okay. Let us stick to that. So in the brush engines, you go to hatching. I don't have any hatching preset right there. Can I create a new one, by the way? Just by going... I don't think, because I removed the default presets. And David doesn't have any. Yes, he does have one. A pixel brush. So yes, you can definitely do hatching in Krita as well with the hatching engine, or you can use also a textured brush. Basically, I think that's what, yeah, you can just apply a pattern to a simple pixel brush and map it to with the strength parameter in the brush engine to your pen pressure. So if you press lightly, you will get just small dots, and if you press harder, you will start to fill in the gaps in between them. Now, I will add something. In Krita, there's one limitation right now with the textures. It's actually, you can see that although I keep brushing in, I can't completely fill the texture. So one thing you have to keep in mind when you create your patterns, if I grab this one in here, yes, I think that's the one David uses. I'm going to grab the fill tool. I didn't assign a shortcut to it, and I think I can use a pattern to fill in here. So you can see that the values in the texture ranged from pure white to pure black. Well, if you want to be able to completely fill the blanks while you are painting in there, you need to limit this value range. So you have to go from I don't know, I'd say a lightness of maybe 10 or 20, you'd have to experiment, up to a bit less than 100% in there, and you will be able to completely fill the texture. This is something, one of the limitations. The other one is compared to Photoshop, you still can't apply the texture per brush tip, and there's also no ability to change within the pattern selector in here. You can't change the brightness, the contrast of your pattern, which is a handy thing you can do in Photoshop. So someone's asking, why does the magic wand suck? I wouldn't say it sucks, but it's not exactly like Photoshop's. It can be a bit slow at times. So the thing you have to understand with the magic wand is that, hold on, I think I'm on the mask layer, yeah. What it's going to do is you click on a color somewhere, and it's going to select all colors that are similar to it. And this is all based on that fuzziness parameter. If you have a value of 17, so colors range from, let's say values are encoded, colors are encoded with values from 0 to 255. And basically, if you choose a value of 17, I believe what Krita does, it's going to look at all of the neighboring pixels, and if they are within a difference of 17 in maybe any channel, it's going to select that color based on the starting color. So that's that. Yeah, this does produce some effects like this, basically, when you have lots of neighboring pixels that connect, you know, a dark color to dark colors elsewhere in the image. It's not, sometimes it selects a lot of stuff, as you can see in there. But yeah, that's it. Oh, and yeah, there's some kind of soft gradient happening also when Krita selects colors. The farther away it gets from the original color, the more transparent it will fill it. So you have to fill multiple times then to apply that color. When you do, it depends on the task at hand, but sometimes it's really useful, and some other times it's really not so great. Like for instance, on a painting like this one, you can see that the effect, well, this is a compressed picture, so one problem is it's a JPEG picture, it has a lot of artifacts in it. It will work better on pure painting and on the raw image in Krita. It's not like Photoshop, where Photoshop is optimized for photographs, and so all of the selection tools are designed to work with the grain you have in a real photo, right? Someone says the layout, you have very slow rendering using the layout block brush at a small size. Actually, this, yeah, performances depends on your platform. I know that, for instance, Linux, there are so many platforms, you can have some issues. I think I saw someone today who couldn't even launch the latest version of Krita. Turn off anti-aliasing to stop that. Yeah, sure. But the thing is, if you turn off anti-aliasing to the selection, you will get aliasing on the edges of the selection. Then you can use feathering, obviously. I guess, can you? Without anti-aliasing? No, feathering doesn't seem to really feather the selection. But yeah, the issue is that in Photoshop, the way it works is basically when you have anti-aliasing, just kind of anti-aliases the selection itself, like the outline. But the selection is still solid, which is quite useful on concept art, can be useful as well on photographs. When you want to do photo retouching, basically. So as I'm saying, that's different in Krita, and this can be a limitation in some cases, but I actually do like in some of the cases the way the anti-aliasing works. I've used it when I do that kind of soft gradation, when you are recoloring a cell shaded artwork. I did that in an old video. I'd have to find the art. I can't remember where I put it. But yeah. Okay, click. Fastest on Linux, changing spacing will help. Yeah, in any case, Krita 3 has only been released. There may be it's pretty stable right there, but some small bugs or things may still be in there, and I'm sure that the developers have worked really hard to make it's way more stable than 2.9 was at the release. So I'm pretty confident that it's only getting better over time. Alright, any more question? It's speed up with auto spacing. Showing interactive painting with Gimmick Colorize. I actually don't have any picture to do that right there, because the way you use that, so for all those who don't know it, David made a great tutorial about that. Basically, there is a filter in Gimmick that you can use to color some line art. So the problem is I don't have some clean line art in here to do that, because you need to do it with a pixel art brush, if I'm correct. So David has one in here if you want the coloring to work accurately. So basically you have to use some aliased outline. David will correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd have to... Okay, let's try this out live. I haven't used this in my workflow, so let's make a little character, manga style. Here. The eyes, have the ear, have some kind of shadow color, a nose, same shadow. Have some kind of bandana. Okay, so we have some kind of character head in here. I'm going to add a neck. Kind of simple game character portraits. And I'm going to try to do the Gimmick Colorize live. Pray for me. Okay, filter, Gimmick Colorize. Let's search for it. Colorize, interactive. Okay. Let's try this out. So basically, you get a very special Gimmick. Okay, maybe I need to do this. Nope, no thanks. Maybe you need a white background. The alias brush is useful later to correct the map. Yeah, okay. So you don't need that, because I think I've tried it once with and I've had some issues with it. And actually I was waiting for the lazy brush feature, lazy fill feature that's coming to Krita 3.1, I believe. And yeah, okay, so it's going to be better that way. Add some, let's find some cool skin tone. I really have no idea of how this works, but I guess that I place color dots in there. Normally, I believe it should automatically fill the areas. I don't know if it fills them when I hit OK, or... I believe you can preview that, but doesn't seem to work. That's kind of how it works. You're meant to place dots to tell Gimmick where you want certain colors to be. I'm going to try that a bit faster. Okay, let's say this is good. Yeah, okay, and it then tries to fill the various areas where you put the color dots with colors, but definitely oh, spacebar to render. Okay. Well, check David Revoi's tutorial, because it actually explains it all. You just have to look for Krita Colorize or Krita, Yeah, Krita color. I'm sure that's the first one you will find. So someone is asking some more general drawing question, especially with digital art. Not directly related to Krita 3, but I have a really hard time getting my lines to go where I want them to go. Any tips? This drives me crazy. It's worse with curves. So the stabilizer is one thing. As you know, in Krita, you have the ability to smooth out your brush strokes. Now, let's say it straight away. So in the tool options, you can choose smoothing options. You can stick to the stabilizer. There's little difference between the weighted smoothing and the stabilizer. Basically, sketching on a tablet is not like sketching on a piece of paper. It's always going to be hard, especially if you have a flat tablet on your disk. Okay, here I'm painting directly on a screen tablet, which is a Wacom Cintiq. So it's very easy. I can place my pen right on the screen and I know where I'm drawing. That's how I can draw about accurately. That way. Otherwise, with a flat tablet, it's really hard. You can get used to it, but you really have to draw rough lines and then to draw over them on top of that. And unless you do this a lot, drawing, sketching, doing line work, it's really hard to draw accurate lines. So there are two things to it. One, to me, with a flat tablet, if you want to do line work for a comic, it's going to be a bit hard. Okay, you will always have to redo your strokes a little. And second, you have to train a lot. If you are just drawing, let's say, 20 minutes a day, it's going to take probably a year for you to really improve your line work substantially. You know, when we do this professionally, right now I do a lot of training videos and other things, a bit of programming, things like these. But when you do line art, when you work as an artist on a game, you work 8 hours a day just doing art. You pretty much focus on that, right? We have David, who's a professional illustrator in here. He does concept artist, illustrator, and he does a webcomic called Pepper and Carrot, for all those who know. In his case, I'm sure he can tell you in the comments, but he probably draws 40 to 50 to 60 hours maybe in a week. And then you have all the other tasks in your job, you know, maintaining your workstation, learning new things and all that stuff, doing your paperwork. For those who are French, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah. But yeah, I haven't been drawing as much lately because I'm doing all kinds of other tasks. And clearly I noticed that I've been losing a bit of line precision over time. So yeah, that's something, and I can show you the maybe digital art from long ago. Let me check. If I go back to a few years ago, I'm going to get to my very old folder, like 2011. I have pictures and I have drawings in here. So one thing is I started drawing, you know, on paper a lot. I only did this traditionally. I got into art pretty late, like this was in high school. You know, that was the end of high school basically, when I did all that. So I worked on my fundamentals, and then if you check my 2D work, when I got to the computer, it's even worse. Like, it's very static. You can see all sorts of unfinished work, line lines I had a very hard time. Proportions on the computer were pretty terrible. Look at that. Like, for instance, this is actually, this was yeah, I had a game project. That's kind of how I got into game creation back at the time, and there was this boss monster and all of this environment, this one, the character in here, this was the hero of that game. You can see that yeah, it's all pretty static and it's all pretty flat, and my line work was pretty awful at the time. So really, and this was over the course of probably 2 years, so the end of high school, starting my studies. This character definitely I did in my first year of studies when I was 18 to 19 years old. So yeah, just to give you a sense of kinds of things I were doing. And actually I've been slacking a lot when I got into art. And I can tell you that when I started working harder, when you increase the amount of hours you spend working every day, God, you can get better actually so fast. I'm pretty sure that someone who has just a little drawing background, I'm pretty sure that within 1 year working very, very hard, probably 10 hours a day, and if you have the mindset, the passion, and really the will to do it, you can get to a professional level. I saw that with Feng Zhu's school. It's how is it called? It's very popular. It's a concept art school in Singapore. It's very, very expensive. There was another school like that in Canada called Vancouver Film School, where they have a 1 year program. I think it's basically 10 to 12 months. You work very hard, you build a portfolio, pretty specialized, but you get to a professional level pretty fast. When you start to work a lot, all that I want you to retain from that is when you work a lot, you make progress very, very fast. Making a mobile game for Pepper and Carrot with David. David has a lot of work. I'm sure that he has opportunities for that. I know that someone is making a Pepper and Carrot game. I would love to at some point. It's a possibility, so make something using the world of Pepper and Carrot, especially because you have the art direction and you have the art director basically that's available to chat with and to making a little game and doing that on GDquest. Why not? But I do have a lot of work already until basically mid 2017. I'm probably going to be busy. Well, now that I think of it, it's in the midst of the live stream, but for the third volume of Game Art Quest, basically, yeah, that's an option. I'll get in touch with you, David, because that could be interesting. Although I do have projects and a few projects available with some art direction right there to use, but that could be really interesting to work with David's universe. If he agrees. I missed what you said about flat tablets. Basically, flat tablets, you don't have as much accuracy than with flat tablets, basically the ones that sit on your desk compared to screen tablets. It's hard to have the same level of accuracy compared to using a screen tablet and compared to working on paper. I got the Cintiq, and one thing I want to say as well is that still flat tablets are very, very good for painting. In my opinion, it's better to paint on a flat tablet than to paint with a Cintiq, because you can look at your screen up front. You can sit nicely in your chair. I only use the Cintiq for line work basically, and maybe when I did 3D before, I would use it for sculpting basically, but that's about it. Yeah. So question, do you have some link for the games you've been working on? Google Play page also. Long story short, nope. I do have some links if you want. The thing is, I did game artwork for clients. There's one game that's in the making that's going to be really cool. Hold on, I've got an... yeah, I think I can't show you that, but I can show you the work I did on it. It's a really cool game called Lord of the Dungeon. And I can't show you what they are working on right now, but I should... I know that Clement told me I can show you the art I made for it. So that's not the last game I worked on last year, but that's the last one, the most recent one. I can show you. I know. Pass. Papers in here. On where is it? Game projects, probably Dungeon Master assets. I'm gonna have to open it in Photoshop though. I don't think I have screenshots in here. I only have the individual assets, but I can show you a few things. Yeah, that's not a trading card game in that case. This is a yeah, the problem is I have some client work and most of it I can't show. I did some mobile games like these, and the last games I did independently, it's pretty old because I did a bit of work in web and quality assurance, things like these. When I started, freelancing as an artist is not easy at all. Especially as a game artist, but it's true for illustration and all. It's hard to find jobs. It's hard to find, well, even decently paid jobs. So yeah, I would take other types of jobs instead. I did some article writing, you know, things like these, local work, giving math classes, English classes, something I'm still doing. Doing basically computer maintenance, IT stuff. You know, things like these. So I actually don't have too many game projects. Yeah, what do I have in here? I basically have some interface. Yeah, so the game used to look like that. It's very different now. But it used to be a top-down board game with bounds, basically. Hold on. Fuck. Okay. You had those bounds that would basically move on the board, a top-down board. Now it's an isometric game, and you would have those fights that were a bit like in Pokemon. But they are redoing it completely, and it's really, really, really nice now. It looks way better. They have a new artist to work on it now that I take care of GDquest. Theo, which is who is a great artist, and he just did some mock-ups. They are basically redoing the board in 3D, and it's going to be a pretty interesting game. They were showcasing it in France in some in a few exhibitions, and it got a very nice reception. So yeah, really, really nice. As far as the games I did for clients that I can show you, there were some games that are very ugly, very, very low resolution, but basically the very old ones like this one. So I used to have a business partner, and we made HTML5 games for mobile web browsers, and really well, these were very fast to make didn't spend too much time on these, but basically very, very low resolution games with very tight performance constraints, because basically this has to run on very old Android devices. So yeah, we made things like these, you know, which are not too interesting to play on the computer. So that's a game basically where you have 3 different instruments and you use those, each instrument has a different effect basically on the enemies, but it's pretty ridiculous. Like basically, to give you an idea of the performance constraints, we couldn't have at the time life bars on the monsters and flashing effects and all that stuff because of the performances. It's really crazy. Like, you can't imagine how slow old Android phones are. On Android 2 was really awful. So yeah. What do I have? We have another game that's very simple. It's a clone trap game. Yeah. So these are games we used to sell to publishers. This one is a clone of, I think it's Don't Touch the Spikes. In general, these were very simple games because that's what publishers asked for. This one looks a lot better, a lot more crisp. That's the last one I did with a game maker developer. So yeah, this one has a lot more polish and it was later than the other games. Hold on, can't seem to... Yeah, okay. It doesn't take the stylus input in account, so I have to use the mouse in here. But yeah, a very, very simple game. We did in I think I did the art in 2 days or something like that. Very simple project. And yeah, you have to avoid the piranha plants, basically, on the sides. But yeah, so that's the kind of work I used to do. Mobile games, quite simply. Yeah, Miniclip publishes HTML5 games, and yeah, the performance requirements are very tight. Okay, so any more questions? Hold on, I'm trying to read the backlog. Sorry, where is the... Because I actually have a playlist right there. Lower the sound a little more. Okay. I'll check the stream after this is done. There will be a recording and I will check the music and all that stuff to see if it's too bad for the next stream. I'll probably do some more in the future, and I'll try to check to fine-tune the parameters, because this is the first stream in the long time. Yeah, basically the stream was supposed to end at 7:30. I think that's what I put in the event parameters. Check settings. Yeah, all right. But if you have questions and all, something you would like to see, I'm staying a little more. So don't hesitate to ask. If you want me to talk about a certain type of game art, for instance, to make a little art demo, just to show painting with Krita in general and talk about that. In the meantime, I'm doing some random character. Yeah, that's the reason for the music, by the way. It's a filler for when there are no questions or not so much to talk about. Question, do you use Krita in your workflow for the game asset animations? Nope. No. I actually used it a little at some point, and the application was way too unstable. The updates took too much time to come out. So no, this is something I'm not a big fan of the design choice they made basically for Krita. That is, you don't have the separation between the setup, which is rigging the character, and the animation part. So basically, I don't really like it. This creates a lot of issues in the pipeline. Instead, I've worked a little with Spine from Esoteric, but the complete version is quite expensive for the amount of animations I used to do. And then I have worked a bit on Unity games at some point. So I was using native Unity animations. And last but not least, now I would use and I would recommend following Andreas Ezo's Blender add-on for cutout animation. I made a video on it, so you can find it on the channel. And it's basically bringing 2D animation tools to Blender. Krita is probably going to have a native export to that tool, and then that tool can natively, the animations made with it can natively be imported in the Godot game engine. And anyone could make a script to import it in Unity or in any other program, because it exports as JSON, a very simple format. There's that. Then there's an open source program, which is basically let's say a Chinese copy of Spine, which is Dragon Bones Pro, and it's open source, it's free, and it allows you to do 2D animation. Can you show some line exercises to help improve skills? Okay, let's do that. That's actually something I've done for the Krita training. So let me check. I'm going to grab the sheets and do a little live demo with them. That will be more interesting than if I improvise. Let me think about where did I put it. Hold on. So, 5 exercises on line work. I'm going to close this document and import them all as docs. Alright, so these are available for free. These are simple exercises to try to improve your line work directly while doing digital art. You can also replicate the exercises on paper. So, the idea with the exercise, first things first, in the tool options you deactivate the stabilizer. So if you drag the slider to the left, it's virtually not active. It's barely going to smooth your strokes. Then let me check. I have a pretty soft brush preset in here. I'm going to grab, is this one? Yeah, this one will do the trick. So the idea is to do a few things. The first one is, especially for beginners, to trace over the lines, basically. So you can take your time. The goal is to make straight lines. The thing is, with digital art, it's very hard. And another rule is that you have to start on the edge of the frame and to end precisely on the other side of the frame. This is a warm-up exercise, so right now I'm warming up, basically. It's a good way to get your muscles warmed up. You can start zoomed out, and as you make progress, I invite you to zoom in, not too much, because I don't think this is great to do too long strokes. You don't have to do very long strokes often in digital art, and also soon enough you will start using the line drawing tools to draw straight lines, but it's a good exercise to develop your line confidence, to warm up your muscles, because you use your muscles for drawing, and to improve, to gain more precision with your lines. So you can go from top to bottom, from bottom to top, like this. Then you have the same thing with diagonal lines. So just so you know, these exercises, don't worry if you draw a bit like that and you have a really hard time at first. It's really not important at all. The goal is just to improve. You don't care about the output if it's not great, if you have little experience drawing on a digital painting app. Let me just drop in the name Dragon Bones. Yes. You just have to look Dragon Bones up on YouTube. You will find it directly. So yeah, one thing is, don't rotate the canvas. The goal is to really have you draw diagonal lines in that case. And the second thing is, don't rotate your arm on the tablet too much. Try to draw with the pen pointing down at the tablet, with a more or less straight pen, I don't know if Dragon Bone can run on Linux. But basically, the idea with drawing precise lines and lively lines, one way you can achieve it is if you train to have the pen relatively up, perpendicular to the drawing surface, more or less, and you learn to draw in pretty much every direction like that. This is one way. It's just an exercise to improve your line work and your line precision, but that's something that worked for me. I got it from I think the guy's name is Peter Han, and you can find a session from him for free on YouTube from CGMA. I would say, I think it's Peter Han, like that. Yeah, maybe you're getting it in the chat before getting it in the you're getting it on stream, but that's all right. So yeah, you have exercises with increasing difficulty, going from bottom up. You have the diagonal lines, then the horizontal lines are really the hardest, I think. So that's for sheet 1. The exercises you can do in a few ways. First, you can trace over, then you can work directly on a new canvas and try to create straight lines, and to visually plot where they should start and end. You can just draw a straight line like that using the V key in Krita to toggle the line tool, and then you shift click to constrain the line to it's 15-degree increments, and you release to draw a line, and then you can start to draw your grid like that. So that way you can do all kinds of grids. Then you have perspective grids. One. Same thing, tracing over, then making your own. Just so you know, creating a perspective grid, if you're not too used to it, the way it works with perspective, so basically it's 2-point perspective in that case, and 3-point, it's supposed to represent 3-point perspective, like the height grid in that case at the bottom. The way it works is you want to have some kind of vanishing point somewhere on a horizon line. Most of the time it's going to be out of the document. So you can't directly plot it, but you represent it with two lines that are basically, you imagine that they are infinite, and where they cross, you know, is your horizon line and your vanishing point, which is, you know, really far away from the document in that case. But you do that, you do the two outer lines, and then you kind of do average angles in between. All of your lines are supposed to connect exactly on that vanishing point. So the files for the line drawing exercises you can find on the Krita training. You have its Krita tutorial series in the description, and basically it's at GDquest.com/Krita 1 Volume 1/Krita tutorial for game artists. You have it in the video description. Okay, so that's the second exercise. You will find the file, it's in chapter 1 normally. I think I put it up, I'm not sure I put it up, maybe I'll have to upload it. I don't remember. Okay, so third line, third exercise, follow the track. You just have to follow the track multiple times, and you try to trace the shape as accurately as you can. You can create your own shape as well. But the idea is, in that case, to always trace the shape in both directions without lifting your pen. That way, a few times. You also have shapes that are more complicated in that case, where you have to stop and try to connect with a straight line in here, which is a bit harder. Okay, so that's the first exercise. Fourth one, circles and ellipses. First, concentric circles, concentric ellipses. Very hard to do this one, so if you want to do ellipses, you can look at how my cursor moves. Basically, I'm not tracing directly, but I'm just moving in circles to kind of represent the outline of the ellipse. And when I feel comfortable with that motion, I'm going to trace. And doing it that way is going to give some energy to my lines. All right, that's the main reason. However, doing it accurately, ellipses, is super duper hard. In general, on the computer, you will use helpers. No, the Krita training is free. The first volume of the Krita training is entirely free, and it's going to be a full Krita training. It's available from my website, and on YouTube you get the videos, 2 videos released every week, unless there is some kind of special show, like today there is that live stream. Then there are 2 other volumes that will be premium, and yes, that you will be able to buy, that are dedicated to game art, with side-scrolling games first, and the second part is going to be dedicated to isometric games. Yeah, concentric ellipses, concentric circles, same thing, you do the motion and at some point you trace. Then you have aligned ellipses, so you have a major axis around which you try to align your ellipses in perspective. Okay. Note that this is a line drawing exercise. Then when you want to draw something like that in Krita, you have an assistant tool that allows you to draw concentric ellipses very precisely. Then you have cylinders. The way you do cylinders is 2 ellipses and you connect them basically with straight lines. More or less, basically. And last exercise, you have isometric constructs. Same thing, you are not supposed to use the line drawing tool to draw straight lines. Supposed to draw the straight lines. This is a great exercise to learn to draw straight lines directly on canvas. So you can trace first, and then you can create your own isometric shapes. Like if I can do it like that. So in isometric art, all of the lines have to be parallel, basically, on a given side. There's no vanishing point. The parallel lines in the real world are going to be parallel in the isometric representation of the volume on the screen on your canvas. The way this exercise works is you first create cubes, then you create connected cubes, basically. Then from a cube, connect, we find the middle of one face, and we trace a line in here, in the middle, which allows you to create some kind of roof. And if we combine a cube and a roof, we have a house. That's the basically those exercises are meant to slowly get you to drawing lines more accurately, but you start to make constructs that we will then use in the later training series that are coming to the channel and to the website. So yeah, that was a lot of things. I'm starting to lose my voice, and we are 20 minutes over the actual stream watch time, the stream length. So I'm going to go prepare dinner, and I'll see you soon on the channel. I'm going to end the stream right here. Thank you kindly for showing up. I will do more streams if you are interested, so tell me in the comments on Facebook, on Twitter. So, you have a free Krita training. Hold on. I have that lovely habit of not keeping my windows open. So you have a free training on my website. Right now, this is entirely free. If you want to support me, you have a Krita brush pack that's dedicated to game art. So there's David Revoi's brush pack, which is free and which is really good. This one is a bit different. It serves a different purpose. It's something that I'll keep updating over time. It's available for $6.95 with the early access code on Gumroad. I'm going to put the link in the description real quick. And this comes with education as well, with exclusive tutorials dedicated to how to use the brushes. All right. I'm leaving it in the video description. Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to update the description in a minute. But basically, yeah, that's one thing you can buy if you want to support GDquest. And thank you all for showing up. I kindly appreciate it. And see you soon. Yeah. Have a nice evening or nice day, depending on where you are. And yeah, bye-bye. Hold on. I'm actually on the wrong page. I can't stop it right there. Okay. Stop streaming. See ya.